Welcome to Spirit School. I'm your mentor, Danielle Sarank, also known as the Squamish Medium. In this podcast, I share honestly all I have learned about the mediumship and spiritual development journey. My intention is to normalize these conversations, to make way for a more confident, clear, and connected wave of lightworkers, serving the world of spirit with an open and joyful soul. Welcome again to Spirit School. Hello, my friends. Welcome to another episode of Spirit School. I will be bringing you today your October 2022 Spirit Messages. I am at the end of September at this time. We had a really big month here in Spirit School. We had the start of the initiation, which is my 7th time running my Mediumship Foundations experience. It was by far the biggest launch I've ever had. I think we had 58 incredible souls sign up for that experience. And we are just wrapping up week 2 at the time I'm recording this. And it's an 8-week journey and it has been incredible so far. It's been a lot of fun. We've had lots of great people join the Spirit School Collective. Yesterday, I was super excited to interview my trauma-informed coach, who's also a licensed social worker and a certified grief therapist, as well as a coach. And so I had her on in my community to talk about holding professional space for grief. And we got so much out of the conversation. I hope to have her back to talk about some other areas of her work of expertise. But it's been really exciting in the collective as well. We restructured the experience to be one that we meet weekly as a group, and I share a teaching and we do some practicing and I answer some questions. So that has been really fun to continue to evolve on. And it's been like a really creative month. I feel like September was a month of creation. Today, just after I stop recording this, I'm going to be launching my first retreat. So I'm having a retreat in April 2023. In the beautiful forests of British Columbia, 32 spaces available, which I'm really excited about. I'm going to be launching that in my membership first. And then if there's spaces still left within the next month, I'll be opening that up to my newsletter. So I'm really excited to get into the retreat space as well. This is something my audience has been asking for a while. So it's going to be a 4-day retreat with me focused on spirit, soul, and ourself. I even might want to do something like table tipping there, which I'm really excited about. It was one of the most powerful experiences I've ever had, has been my table tipping exercise that my mentor took me through many years ago. So I hope to replicate something similar there. And another exciting thing has been, I have been looking for a brick and mortar. The idea just popped in. And I think I was assuming that having a spirit school space, a physical space, would be out of my price range and just astronomical. You know, sometimes you walk by some of these retail shops and you're like, how do people stay in business? And when I started looking into it and the thought started popping in, because if you watch me on Instagram Live or you attend my classes, you know that I literally work at a desk on the side of my bed. There is less than 2 feet available between the edge of my desk and my bed. I love my space and I love my home. And there are so many reasons why I love working at home. But I did get the thought that wouldn't it be nice to have an office space to be able to go plunk at every once in a while? And I really want to have an online store. And it's almost impossible to find like a drop shipping company that has a kind business model. And of course, my whole journey this year has been to create a fully trauma-informed and kind and ethical business. So therefore, I'm choosing to only work with brands and businesses that are also ethical and kind. And I haven't found that in the online retail space yet. So I wanted to get my own chosen like sweaters and hats and journals. My house is not big enough to store stuff. So another thought around having a space was like I could order things that I really, really want to sell. And, you know, people have been asking for. And so all these ideas started coming around having a shop. And yeah, I've been working with a realtor and Spirit School is coming alive, my friends. I speak about this at the beginning of these messages because I feel like this is going to be part and parcel on what comes through in the messages. But so many of you have been listening to this podcast for years. And I get so many beautiful messages from you guys saying, you know, it's been an honor to watch you grow and evolve and what you've created. And it's been a real honor to bring you guys along in this journey. And I truly believe that by spring next year, Spirit School will be a physical school that you can come and visit. And though my dreams for it are quite large, I know just like my career and like my spiritual evolution, we got to start somewhere. And I'm looking for that initial space that has 2 offices and a workshop space for like 40, and willing and eager to continue to work my way up into my own building, my own physical spirit school. I'm really excited about that. And so if you can send me some good vibes, send me some good manifestation around that. I'm hoping that by Spirit Messages, April 2023, I will be inviting you guys into Spirit School, a physical space that you can come and have experiences with me. That's one thing that I'm really passionate about, because I've been blessed with so many incredible spiritual experiences. And one thing that I recognize that I'm able to provide for people is like an energetic space, if you will, for other people to have their own spiritual experiences. So that's kind of what the retreat is about. It's tucked away in the woods. It's an all-in-one space. So it's like a whole building. You sleep there, you meet there, you eat there. It's on a lake in the forests of British Columbia. It's absolutely incredible. I attended a Tony Stockwell retreat there in 2016, and it's always been a dream of mine to go back. So I actually booked this space a long time ago. It's been in the works. It's absolutely inspiring and incredible. And so my intention with this retreat being focused around spirit, soul, and self has been around creating atmospheres and experiences for people to have profound and transformational spiritual experiences. So I'm really, really excited for the future. Things seem to be changing at a very rapid pace for me right now. And yeah, I'm just excited about life. And I hope you guys are feeling the same. Of course, life is life. And so there's always a dichotomy at play where things will be working so well in one area, and then in other areas, not so much. And I think that this is the way we can look at our whole lives have been like this. It's like, career and relationship are doing amazing, but finances and health over here seem to be taking a slide. Or I finally have my health down, but my relationships are struggling. The development has come in so beautifully and I am connecting with greater ease, but I'm not able to communicate and feel connected in with my family, my partner, my children, etc., etc. And I think that's just the way life goes. And what's interesting for me is, as I opened up the initiation, and I teach this every time we go into the initiation, is, when we hop on the development path, we are also on the path of healing. They run in complete parallel to one another. So where we may feel lack and where we may feel that we need growth and development in the mediumship front, there often is a parallel in our humanity that we're asked to look at and heal. And then the energy ties together, and what we clear up over in our human then translates over to our spiritual development. Now, a tangible example around this is control. I will have students say to me, I just don't know how to let go. I just don't know how to surrender the control to the world of spirit and how to be that vessel. Okay, if you have tried all the different techniques that teachers, mentors, classes, programs have taught you on how to surrender and control, and they're not working for you, there's not a deficit in you. What your soul is actually asking you to do is look over here. Where in your life, where in your relationships, where in your finances, where in your health are you unable to release that control? Are you trying to control everyone around you? Do you have such a grip on your monthly budget and your finances that you're not willing to surrender a little bit and let the energy move around it so that more can start to come in? So if you are unable to surrender and give control over to the spirit world and mediumship, and you just can't quite get it, look at your life. Look at where the comparable is happening in your real life and heal it over there. Heal your human. And then when you go back in to do your readings, you're like, it's at a totally different level. So I want to play with this idea around balance. And, I have my eyes closed and I'm definitely channeling right now because this is not what I was going to talk about today. And I think about Libra and the scales and how it's in balance in that symbology of Libra season. Of course, much of October will be spent in that Libra season, and how being out of balance actually supports us in our human. And how this concept of balance is something that has been set up around perfectionism, around keeping up with the Joneses, around what we think society expects of us. And maybe we can see the scales teetering as something that is meant to support us in our evolution. When things are out of balance, we are forced to look at ourselves, and we don't look at ourselves as deeply when things are going easy and in perfect balance. And keep in mind that those of you who will be listening into these spirit messages, you're all on a spiritual journey, every single one of you, which is why these spirit messages will not resonate for all billions of people on the planet, because there are people who are not interested, and it's not part of their dharma to be conscious of their spiritual evolution in this life. So you are listening to Spirit School. And I want you to hear me loud and clear that these times of feeling imbalanced are actually here to help you get to that next level of your spiritual growth. So I want you to see it as an invitation welcoming you in. And I want you to spend this month asking that. I don't feel like I'm getting this over here. I feel like I should be getting this, but I'm just not getting it. Take a zoom out approach. I teach this technique in mediumship development. People are like, just as an example, I pick up information, but they're always on somebody who's living. I'm like, okay, well, yeah, you could very well be picking up this information psychically. But what if you were to zoom out and say, who is showing me this information? And I learned this technique in year 1 of my mediumship development. I would zoom out, and then all of a sudden I would be aware of a communicator. Somebody showing me and passing me these details of somebody who is alive but connected to my sitter. And this zoom out approach has helped me in so many different areas of my mediumship and of my personal growth. I remember feeling in personal conflict with different people or situations, and I would get to a point where I would be forced to ask the world of spirit, can you allow me to see this from the lens of the angels? Can you allow me to see this from the perspective of spirit? And I would zoom out, and I would be able to see things from a higher perspective. And from spirit eyes, not so much my eyes in the human who is down in the muck. So when I invite you to look at the imbalances that come up in your life, without judging them, if you can just simply ask yourself, can I zoom out and see this from the perspective of spirit? I'm more than sure that you will be able to see other areas of your life where there is the exact same thing happening that maybe you can start focusing on. And in fact, that is exactly why your soul has been bringing that forward to you, to look at it in the other area of life that maybe has been ignored because it's not as exciting, or it doesn't give you the same dopamine or serotonin kicks as what you have been currently focusing on. I also want to bring up for the October Spirit messages and the energies around it is that it's okay if your passions change, and it's okay if you feel more pulled into your human than your spirituality. This is part of the seasons, going back into the depths. As we head into winter in the Northern Hemisphere, we are heading back into our cave. We are looking at ourselves. This is typically a time, fall, winter, where I really lean into development myself for my person more than spring and summer. And so I want you to see this as more of an invitation. And I want you to know that even though your passions may change or your priorities may change, it doesn't mean that you're letting go. It doesn't mean that you're moving on from something else. It just means that you're focused on being a whole person and a whole spirit. And to be here in the human, to have the most profound and to have the most fulsome experience, we need to look at all aspects of ourselves. And I get the sense that as we head into October, we will be pulled in a few different directions to look at where we need to focus on as we head into the winter time. I want you to do this without judgment. This is what Spirit keeps saying. We need to do this without judgment. We're so hard on ourselves. We're so programmed and conditioned to be so perfect and to have everything be in alignment. When I think that this is a narrative that can be quite harmful. If we look at history and we look at times of the past, has there ever been something called alignment? Has there ever been this pressure on ourselves to have everything be smooth and that smoothness be the indicator of alignment, which reaches us to higher spiritual evolutions? I'm starting to question this. And this is what's coming through, is that we should all be questioning this. Is this something that we're chasing that keeps us feeling in a deficit? Therefore, is it helpful for us on our human path and in our experience? Do we need to feel like we are moving on from something, or is it okay to shift our interests so that we can become more whole as practitioners, as light workers, as humans? And maybe we are meant to go through the whole wheel every single year so that we can be more whole and complete. So I want to stop putting so much judgment and so much pressure on the whys. I want us to stop seeing ourselves in a deficit. So in saying that, I get the sense that in October, what's going to continue to come up is a lot of inner narratives, a lot of being in your mind, mental conflict, if you will. And I feel like this is necessary because I feel like there's going to be a lot of different epiphanies that come up for you this month that will come through the mind. And you might start to see the busyness of the mind as being a bit of a superpower rather than a detriment. Right? We hear a lot of pressure in the spiritual space about clearing the mind, emptying the mind, and that's not accessible to everybody. And we need to honor that. And I get the sense that we will have so many inspirations and so many amazing things come through the busyness of the mind that we're going to start coming back into harmony with it. We are a different breed of human than we were 50, 60, 70, 90 years ago when we are following the teachings of some of these spiritual teachers that were preaching from times before social media, times before we had handheld devices that are actually changing the physicality of the structuring of our hands. I'm being shown like something with our pinkies and our index fingers, like they're actually changing because of these devices that we have created for ourselves that make our lives a lot easier in a lot of ways, but they're changing our minds and they're changing how we are evolving our hands. They really are. So sometimes these teachings of the past are so important and they're such an important part of our path forward, but they don't have to be our guiding force. We are meant to evolve and continue to evolve into the next iteration of humanity, of spiritual beings. And we need to keep evolving. So there's also this essence I need to bring in for October about letting go of the past and continuing to move forward. If you could see me, I'm moving my hands, and they keep having me move my hands as being a way of saying, you need to move forward now. We need to keep moving forward. So carry these beautiful teachings that resonate and fit in with our society now, but look for something new to come in because we are changing at such a rapid pace right now that we really need some flexibility and we need some space around the evolution of our spiritual selves so that we can bring in the new. There will be new teachers, there will be new philosophies, there will be new teachings, there will be new ways of being. And we're at a place of massive divine free will right now in all areas of our societies and our systems and our structures and our lives, that we are in a choose your own adventure time, that we actually get to decide what comes next. And every decision that we make compiles into that collective decision making on what the next version of our societies looks like for our children. There is so much disruption in the systems right now all over the world because we are in a great time of decision making. So what decisions are you going to make in this month of October? How are you going to decide to think and to show up and to change? What are you willing to release so that you can bring in new energy? Are you courageous enough to do things differently, to create a new foundation for our children and for the generations to come? We have never in our times been so challenged with a new because we can see so clearly that the generations had it a bit wrong. They took us so far as they could, but we can see the harm, we can see the wrong. And now we get to choose what comes next. And make no mistake, there is great courage in this choosing. Choice is wealth. Being able to choose for ourselves is such a privilege. It is such a great wealth that we cannot see this non-monetized way of being as being one of the wealthiest and enriching experiences that we can have in this human experience. And if we can see every choice we make as being one that contributes to the collective wealth that can be accessible to all, maybe you'll think about these choices a little bit differently. I want you to look at making choices for your own children, how this benefits and impacts them for the greater good, even at the risk of the discomfort of us in the here and now. Make no mistake, we are sitting in mass collective discomfort every single moment. It's already as uncomfortable as it will get. So make choices from the space of that knowing instead of fearing more discomfort. This is very important to talk about because I feel like what we have been taught is what is good for the individual. And now it's start to look outside of our individualism into our families, and then into our communities, and then into our territories, and then into our countries, and then into our global way of being. I don't think anyone can disagree how chaotic this time is. And it's often we can recognize in our own human experiences that it is in times of great conflict and chaos that we really start to make these changes. It's an invitation, and it's a hard lesson to experience. But we need to focus on what comes next. We need to stop berating on the past. We need to stop carrying it with us like it's a badge of honor that we carry the weight, and we need to drop it and say what comes next. And we can start that with every single thought that comes up to us. I recognize this thought. I see you. You have been here before. You have held me back. I'm not going to carry you like a badge of honor anymore. I am going to release you and move on and get on with life. Because next year at this time, I desire something new. And I know that the only way to that newness is to make the decision now to change. I'm going to stop seeing these imbalances as a deficit. And I'm going to start seeing them as an invitation to become more whole. I'm going to stop buying into these societal narratives that I am in a deficit. And go back to traditional teachings in all of our cultures that see us as whole always. And never fractured, never fragmented. Always whole and looking to rise and evolve. The way Spirit is showing this to me is there's no going back now. The steps are only going up. And the way that they're showing this to me clairvoyantly is the steps get brighter and brighter and brighter. And I actually see it's invisible, the steps behind me. We can't go back anymore. So where we may have found comfort going back to what is familiar is no longer available to us. And I could cry saying this because I never thought about it like this before. There's only one way to go. And that's how come we're in a deep time of sovereignty. And I want you to look into that word sovereignty, and I want you to sit with it, and I want you to meditate on it, and I want you to immerse yourself in it so that you can get your own cellular understanding of what it is. Not what society tells us it is and isn't, but what does it mean to you? How can you bring this word into your own experience? And it's very important for you to understand what it is for you. This is a time of great knowing, okay, what comes up for me, and I feel like the energy is starting to move down, so I'm just going to, I feel like I went somewhere, and then now all of a sudden, I feel like energy is starting to move down. Okay, and I'm going to just wrap up with a couple final things that are coming through, but I feel like, and I can see this in mediumship, I can see the comparable. Oh my gosh, this is all kind of coming together. It's a time of great knowing, and we have been taught and fed narratives that keep us from trusting ourselves. We used to trust ourselves so much more as society. We used to know how to birth at home, how to die at home. We used to know that we could trust we knew what to do to support one another in our communities. We have lost that level of trust in one another and most definitely in ourselves. And so Spirit really wants October as you're stuck in the mind and as you go through this like big letting go of the narratives that are not helping us move forward, and really understanding that the knowing is actually the purest form of communication with the divine. And we underestimate that claircognizance and we underestimate that knowing to some really detrimental levels. And I feel like what we are coming into is a time of understanding that knowing at a much deeper level. This is a knowing, okay? I just have to say it like that. I said to my class, how they're bringing this through to me is I just did a Q&A in the initiation on Friday. And I said to them, okay, our next class, I'm going to explain to you this philosophy that was gifted to me years ago that I'm finally starting to understand more clearly. And the teaching was in spirit communication, it all comes through a knowing. All of it. We get impressed with a knowing before anything else. And there's almost this filtration that happens to make sense of it through the other clairs, through the seeing, hearing, feeling, sensing, tasting, smelling, etc., etc., etc. But it always starts with a knowing. And so this is kind of coming full circle for me because I get the sense that through October, you're going to have some pretty enlightening experiences where this knowing comes in. You're like, oh my God, I just knew that was going to happen. It's like, yeah, Spirit's like, yeah, hold on to that because that knowing is happening all the time. But through a few generations now, I want to go back 4 or 5 generations. I feel like in 4 or 5 generations for all of us, we have slowly been taught to not trust ourselves. And now we're kind of like at that rock bottom, if we will, of not trusting ourselves, that we're coming back up. We're on the up again. These are the stairs that Spirit has been showing me that there's no going back. It's trust or bust. I've seen this as like a meme. I'm like, it's trust or bust. I don't even know if that rhymes, but I have to laugh in the way that they're bringing it through us. But what we're doing essentially is building a new foundation. The foundation of the old and what has been has crumbled. It is gone. You can consider this to be where like the ground just falls away. Can't think of what they're called right now, but they freak me out. Like where a piece of road just like falls into the ground out of nowhere. I'm seeing that in my mind right now. I'm going to see if Spirit can bring in that, what it's called. Yeah, this is how I can tell the energy's moving on. Okay. This is where I can tell I'm not channeling anymore. And I want you guys to see this process as well. So I think it's really important to say, but just to say in closing around October, that the foundation of what was is gone. Literally, it's up to us every single moment to build and rebuild the foundation that we hope for the future. And I think October is such a huge month around this. I don't know how the astrology lines up with what I'm saying. I'm always fascinated to record these a few days before the month starts. And then my amazing community and marketing and branding manager, Concrete and Crystal, she listens to them. And she edits them for me and she posts them for me. And then she'll always send me little stories from other spiritual teachers that align with what I was saying too. So it's kind of like comforting and validating for me to see other people picking up on very similar energies. And that's always really fascinating for me. I definitely feel like the energy of Spirit has subsided, which is always a sign for me. Okay, it's time to wrap this up. So thank you for listening to me. Thank you for being here for the October Spirit messages. I hope and I trust that you receive something that you needed to hear, that shifts something inside of you, that inspires you on your next steps. And, don't forget your humanity. We didn't come all this way to bypass this experience. We came here for the full human experience. So, spiritual development while honoring your humanity always. I've enjoyed this time with you. Share this with your friends if you think that they'll enjoy it. Come check out the Spirit School space. I have a free community. You can easily access the membership from there, any of my classes or programs from there, but there will always be a free aspect. We will definitely be doing another 5-day experience really soon. I have a poll going in it if people want to do a 5-day experience around angels, around psychic development, or around confidence building. And right now, angels and confidence of a light worker are tied. So this will probably be happening either end of October or November. We're always doing fun and free stuff in there as well. So come check out Spirit School. It is an off social media platform. It is one of the most sovereign things I have done for Spirit School is move off the social media and create an amazing corner of the internet where we can talk about topics in different podcast episodes and get to know one another and learn from one another. So we will see you in Spirit School. Did you know that Spirit School is not just a podcast? It's an actual school. If you go to myspiritschool.com, you can invest in self-study courses, live programs, and of course the Spirit School Collective, my baby, my monthly membership community. All Spirit School offerings are intended to get you feeling clear, confident, and connected to your spiritual path, your development journey, and of course, connected to other spiritual curious souls who are having similar experiences to you. I hope to see you in Spirit School.